Hey, broken salespeople, welcome to the workshop. My name is Red Staffstrom, and we are here to fix broken sales skills. So, like every Monday, I am here with an entrepreneur. I'm here with Katie Brinkley. She runs Next Step Social Communications. She does marketing for people. I don't know a ton of details right now because, as always, I want to be as surprised as you guys are. I want to see what she's doing without dictating and preaching it to you guys. So, Katie, why don't you give me kind of the 90-second overview and we dive into everything from there?
Yeah, so I started Next Step Social Communications about 4 years ago, and it is a boutique social media agency based here in Littleton, Colorado. I totally backpedaled my way into starting my own company. I had my dream job. I was a marketing manager for the Colorado Rockies television station, and I ended up being laid off. I had the option to move to Atlanta, and that was not something I was interested in. I love where I live. My family's here, and I didn't want to move, so I chose to be laid off. And then 2 weeks later, after I chose that option, I found out I was pregnant, and so I was like, "Well, now who's going to want to hire me when I'm like, hey, thanks for hiring me. I'm pregnant and I'm going to go on maternity leave right after I'm done being trained."
And
So
yeah, and most of the maternity leaves have that 9-month policy.
More like the 3-month policy, but
Yeah.
yeah, things have changed since my daughter is now 4, so things have changed, but, it was in the meantime, I was like, "Well, I'll just freelance." I've always done social media. I've always been good at it. I've been doing it since the days of MySpace, so I was like, "Oh, I can probably just freelance and do this," and 4 years later, here I am, and I've got, regular clients that I'm, doing done for you social media for, and then I'm have social media, coaching clients where I teach them all the best practices to do on their social media, and I'm in the process of developing an online course because I'm just at my max capacity, for coaching and done for you services.
Okay. So there's a lot with that one. So
Yeah.
I'm excited now.
Yes.
So let's kind of start. Who are your, like, you had your dream job, you left. Who are your dream clients now? Who do you typically work with?
That was something that, so 2020 was supposed to be like my big year. And then COVID happened, but it actually was such a blessing in disguise because it allowed me to pivot and rethink my business plan. Like, who am I trying to get as clients? Because I that was my biggest mistake, was I was just taking anyone and everyone. And I was able to kind of sit down and target feel figure out who my ideal client was, which is something that I've been telling my clients to do for years, but it was something that I wasn't doing myself. I was doing a huge entrepreneur mistake of just saying yes to any type of business and any type of client I could, even though it was something I, one, wasn't interested in, or two, didn't, it was just money. So okay, sure, I can do it. So that it did help me with that. 2020 did help me with that because I was able to have more time to sit and figure it out, and I was able to launch my podcast, that I have, which helped me find my ideal clients. But it's kind of been a long journey trying to kind of get to where my ideal client is. I'm still just kind of trying to narrow it down, and it's hard.
So how deep have you gone into creating your own customer avatar so far?
Well, what I've done so far is I created a form. I use Typeform. A lot of people use Google Forms, I guess. I am not familiar with that at all, but I use Typeform, and I sent it to all my clients that I consider my ideal client, who I enjoy doing work with, who I felt like I had a good relationship with, past clients, current clients, all the clients that I liked the best. I sent to them because I was like, what is it about this client that I liked? And that really helped me. It kind of surprised me too. And it helped me figure out my social strategy with what exactly I need to try, and the type of content I need to push out to them so that other people like them will engage with it.
Okay. Are there any particular, like, marketing,
Women.
specialties you like working with, like real estate, mortgages, anything along those lines?
Yes, that's it exactly. I found that I really like working with women and I really like working with people in the home market. So, home
Ooh.
builders, real estate, home organizers,
So you
construction
have a
companies.
lot more. You didn't set it up easy for yourself then.
No, no, I
Because
didn't.
especially after August of last year when Facebook shuffled the cards.
Yeah, that fun ad category, the special
Yeah.
ad category that we can't discriminate.
So
Yes.
how have you been actually working around the 15-mile radius? So
Ah,
actually just to so for those of you guys who don't know, for some Facebook and like Instagram, and it's moving towards Google and a lot of the other brands too, you cannot target an area smaller than 15 miles because it could be ruled as discriminatory based on housing and urban development. Whether that's true or not, we can argue that forever. It's what they say, they make the rules, sadly. But that's the problem. And when you're in a metropolis like Denver, 15 miles, it makes a very expensive marketing budget because you probably have close to 1 million people in that circle.
yeah, and that's where it's made it so that I there are certain interests that you can target, like people that like so the Facebook pixel is huge. You have
Yes.
to have the Facebook pixel installed on your website, and if you don't know what that is, y look it up because if you're doing ads without having the Facebook pixel installed, you're basically just taking your ad budget and taking it in tenths and taking that 9 tenths of it and putting it right in the trash can.
Yes.
Um, because the Facebook pixel makes such a difference. So I do a lot of retargeting. I We have our MailChimp lists that people sign up for integrated into Facebook. So I retarget people that are in our email lists. So sometimes if you're like looking for shoes online and then all of a sudden in your Facebook feed you keep seeing stuff for Zappos and DSW shoe warehouse. It's like, okay, all I did was Google like shoes on sale and why now it's showing up in my feed. Why is this? And it's because of the Facebook pixel. And so having that pixel installed is huge. So I use the pixel and then I also target people based on their interests that are interested in Zillow, are interested in Trulia, and interested in realtor.com, people that are realtors, because a lot of times if they see stuff on their feed, they'll get ideas for their own marketing, and then they can show their clients and their customers. So it's a
And
great.
especially with the listings the way they are right now, um, with 2 months of inventory when normally we have six,
Yeah, and well, in Denver, it's like 2 weeks. Like, it is a
doesn't,
hot
yeah.
market here in Denver. It's ridiculous. So yeah, so I mean, like, if you have that email list already loaded in there, and you're maybe someone reached out to you a year ago, but they're still in your email list, and they're scrolling through Facebook, and you haven't been in touch with them for a while, all of a sudden they see your ad come in their Facebook feed, and now all of a sudden there's that customer that was, a warm customer a year ago is now a hot lead.
Yes, because Facebook is a very slow turnaround with, especially with real estate. That they're scrolling their feed, they're looking at their aunt ate a bologna sandwich for the first time in 15 years.
Mhm.
And it's like the inception of the idea. And that's with real estate too, what I really wanted to talk to you about. Because the turnaround time for a Facebook lead can often be 6 months plus.
Mhm.
How do you coach your agents that you work with in terms of follow up and what processes they put in place?
So there's one thing to do an ad to try and get those new clients. Once you have them, or once let's say they've already bought from you, why do people want to like your page? Why do people want to like your account? Why do they follow you on Facebook? Why do they follow you on Instagram? Why do they follow you on both networks? And this is where you just have to constantly remember you don't want to be that annoying guy in the room that pushes someone into a corner and says, "Hey, listen to me talk about myself and I'm going to sell to you now for the next hour." And then when you try to say like, "Well, by the way, my name is Katie," they turn around and leave. You know,
Yes.
you have to make it an open conversation and you have to provide value. So if that's home advice, like de- decorating idea, right now, Halloween is coming up. You could say like, here's the fun family ways to go trick or treating with your family in the Denver area during COVID. So I
Yes.
mean, it's different ways that you can provide value for your clients and your customers without selling to them. So that's one of the biggest things I try to teach them is after you've already brought them in to your little community, how can you give back to them so that they're, like I said, might not want to buy a house until next summer now.
Yes.
What are you going to give to them so that you're the realtor that they choose next summer?
And the tricky thing is not only next summer. So that you're in Colorado, I'm sure you're familiar with Bomb Bomb.
Yeah.
They're in, like, creating what you call a bow tie funnel where, yeah, they bought next summer, but how do you keep them until 7 years from now when they buy again and
Hmm.
stay in front of them for that whole period?
Yes. Yes.
That's something that I learned from uh, the CEO of Bomb Bomb, Darren. I keep wanting to say Dawson, and I could be wrong there.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like just trying to remember, while they might be your past client, like why do they still want to follow your page? Why do they want to don't make them unfollow you because all you do is tell them about houses that are for sale. Again, just try to kind of continue providing that value so that they're going to want to continue following your page, even though they might have just bought, but they'll tell their friends and their family about you.
So, how do you get a realtor who I know because I work in the real estate field, obviously. If you couldn't tell because I know a lot of the problems you
I
deal with.
know. Your eyes lit
Um,
up when I said that who my ideal clients were.
yeah, no, because this is something I deal with day in, day out. So this is something I've got a lot of expertise with. How do you normally focus them in terms of creating their own attractive character to attract more buyers, to buyers, sellers, etc. to them?
Well, and every platform is different, and you have to treat each platform in its own unique way. That just trying to kind of post something and then be like, all right, well, I posted on Facebook and or I posted on Instagram and I'll share it to Facebook. All right, and I'm done for the week. That's not the way to go about social media at all. It's called social media for a reason. It was designed to be social, and each platform has algorithms that will benefit you and give your business and your business page um, help in the algorithm the more time that you spend on it. And that's where I try and tell people, don't just post and ghost. Post with intent, and then after you post, this is when really the magic happens, is when you're going through some of your hashtags, some of your location tags, and some of your ideal clients that you want to be doing work with. I mean, if you're hashtagging real estate, do you have any idea how many realtors are using that hashtag? Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a great hashtag to use, but the second that it goes so fast, you have to find those niche hashtags. And so like hashtag for Denver area, like hashtag low high community, and then go into the low high community and find different businesses that are in there. Start commenting on those businesses posts like, oh yeah, we love this coffee shop. Our client that's selling their house over here comes here every day. And then you show up in the comments. That's when the magic happens.
So what you try to advise at that point, it's basically leverage other people's SOI, leverage their sphere of influence as often as you can.
Yeah, and I mean, it's good for them too because
Absolutely.
now because when you're posting on on their posts, face or Instagram is then like, oh, people like this post and they want to start conversations on it. I'm going to show it to more people.
And that's the big thing too, is having it as a call to conversation rather than a call to action.
Yes.
Constantly saying, like my page, like my page, like my page.
Yes. Don't be the annoying guy in the room.
It's like being the guy with Cutco knives who spends every week cutting up a garden hose. It doesn't work.
Exactly.
You need
Exactly.
to create that attractive character. The format I've always explained to people, it's my small talk format, the Ford's theory. Have you ever heard of that one before?
No,
Family and friends, occupation, recreation, dreams, school, and sports.
I like that.
So occupation is only 20% of that list. The
Yeah.
rest of it, you can actually create your personality around your family,
Hmm.
around the things you like to do. You like to go fishing, you like to watch football, all of those things. Go pick pumpkins. But
And,
that's what's going to get
and
people to like to work with you, is being a human being first.
Yes. No, that's exactly it. And that's what people buy from. They buy from people. They don't buy from a logo. I mean, I guess unless you're one of the big logos like Nike, but still who they have to have a person that's wearing the Nike because, that's what they're after.
But the brands have their own personalities the same way too.
Yeah.
Like the person who buys New Balance and the person who buys Nike are two drastically different people.
Yes.
They're both
Oh,
going for a jog in the morning, but they're different people. So so as a marketer, how do you create the personality of that brand for them?
well, I mean, this is a lot of time that we spend on Zoom calls, kind of going over what we've just been talking about, like who are your ideal clients? How do you find them? What tell me more about you? And why do you think people would want to buy from you as opposed to any of the other realtors out there? What makes you unique? And one of the best ways to do it is by showing up through Facebook Live, through Instagram Live and stories, and showing people your personality.
So what do you do? And I'm curious on this one because I've run into this problem before because I've asked many real estate agents, what's your unique value proposition? Well, I'm really good at my job. I'm honest. I'm available all times of night. And you hear the same things over and over again, therefore not making it a unique value proposition any longer.
Mhm.
How do you help them actually create something that differentiates themselves from everybody else in such a crowded marketplace where most real estate agents are saying the exact same thing?
I think that one of the best things you can do is show up on video. Showing up on video, it's so hard. Trust me, I know. Like as that's one of the things that I struggle with. And I get it. It's a lot
Yeah.
easier for me to be like, get on Facebook Live and do a walkthrough. But
Mhm.
I get it. It's hard to show up and be on live video, but that's what makes you different.
Mm.
That's what people are drawn to. And you might say, like, oh, well, I only had like 70 people watch it, but you never know who those 70 people might be, those are the people that sat and watched it. That's your ideal client. That's the people that you're showing up for week after week. So that's what you have to keep in mind.
So I want to ask, because you brought it up yourself, what were some of your big obstacles when it came to doing video yourself?
It's still an obstacle for me.
Okay.
It's going live and feeling authentic. And it's like I said, I get it. It's hard to feel not fake. But I mean, I want to show up and I have a set of things that I want to make sure that I highlight. So I mean, like I show up every Wednesday either in stories on Instagram Live and give thoughts on social media tips and stuff. And it's so hard because I'm like, I got to make sure that I hit these 5 things, but I want it to seem natural. And then I'll
Mhm.
watch it and be like, oh gosh, it wasn't natural.
Okay.
Um, but I mean, and that's one of the things that's practice makes perfect. And the
Yes.
more you do it, the more comfortable you'll be with it. And then you'll go back and look, 2 months, 3 months from now and be like, oh, it's okay. Look how far I've come.
So I was having the same problem when I was having video. And it took me like studying neurology to understand why I was having the problem. So the reason most people have a problem with video, it's called the mere exposure effect, MERE. So you're so accustomed to a certain way of things that anything that's a little bit off seems wrong to you. The problem is what you're exposed to the most is your face in the wrong direction because you look at it in the mirror. Your voice always sounds wrong because your vocal cords vibrate and they actually move the pin bones in your ear and make you sound a little bit deeper. I can't stand listening to my own voice because in my head I sound like the Allstate guy. It's but everybody you talk to, they hate the way they sound, even though they sound exactly the same one way or the other.
Well, and you brought up a good point too, and that was, the I had one of the things I had to stop doing for myself, which is still hard, is to unfollow and stop following all the other people out there. And it's hard because a lot of these people have become my friends. I had to like stop looking at their feeds. I had to stop seeing what they were doing because I was comparing myself to them. And I just had to kind of get that tunnel vision as to this is what, this is what path you're on. You know this stuff. Tell people about it. Because when you do, it'll seem authentic. But if you're watching someone else do it first and then you're trying to replicate it, it's not going to seem authentic because you're not being authentic.
No, you're copying and pasting, and it's like you're trying to have that. You, I can't land a joke the same way Chris Rock does, no matter how hard I try. It's never going to come across the right way. As much as I love Chris Rock, it's just not the same. So
And
I want to. So, what are some of, in terms of your own struggles in terms of content creation? Because I think that's going to be the key for pretty much everybody in sales, everybody in marketing right now. Where are you really finding your content creation for yourself as a business, as opposed to just for your real estate agents and your clients?
so content creation is different for me on each platform. So if I want, there's one. So when I create content, I'm trying to just give value back to my audience because I want them to say, "I follow your page. Oh my gosh, yeah, I love following your page. You always have so much good advice, or you always have. I loved your latest blog. There are so many good ideas in there." And that's what you want your audience to say. That's what you want them to feel. But on LinkedIn is a whole different animal for me.
Oh, absolutely.
And I treat it like that, and I think and people should realize how great a tool LinkedIn is. It's unlike all the other social media platforms, and people are there to talk business.
Mhm,
So, just for example, today, somebody I sent a LinkedIn connection to
mhm.
um, responded back and said, "Hey, are you looking to? Are you? Would you ever consider, you know, leaving your job to come work for us?" And I was like, "Well, tell me about the position." And he's like, "Oh, well, it's this." And I was like, "Oh, well, that's not a fit for my skills, but thanks." And then he was like, "Okay, well, thanks anyways." And then he was ready to end the conversation. But then I was like, "Well, so tell me more about yourself. How long have you been here in Denver?" And now he and I had a, LinkedIn message conversation for like half an hour. He's going to come on my podcast. We found out that we both have completely different niches. And now, whenever I do find someone in his niche, I have someone to refer him to, and hopefully vice versa. Because that is one of the things you can't just consider yourself like, oh well, this is all mine. I don't want to share any of the clients. I mean, there's so many businesses out there. I mean, especially for my field, there's so many businesses out there that they're. If I now that I've focused in on my niche, this is where when I find other people that need his services, it's great to have that networking.
So I love what you're saying here, because I've always I read something, I think literally just last night or today, in a podcasting book. I don't even have the author's name memorized yet, so I can't even tell you who. Businesses don't go out of business. They don't go out of business because of lack of opportunities. They usually go out of business because of indigestion by trying to take them all in.
Mhm. Yeah.
So the idea of having that niche that you focus on is absolutely excellent. How long did it take you to actually find that niche? Because it still sounds like you're finding it a little bit and it's 4 years in.
Yeah, it's, I mean, like I said, this year is when I've actually even thought about I need to find a niche. Like before it was kind of, oh, well, I mean, small businesses. Well, I mean, do you have any idea how many small businesses there are? How many different types of small businesses there are? I
Well, I
mean,
know just real estate agents alone in the US, there's 1.5 million, which
it,
makes them about 0.5% of the whole US population. They're roughly the size of Eskimos. Like that niche alone. Now, to target just small businesses, um, I mean, if you stay hyper local to the Denver area, that's one thing.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I found that too, even having so that's where I started was with
Mhm,
just the Denver area, but I'm so active so I'm in a lot of Facebook groups too.
mhm.
And really it's mostly just for staying up to date on the latest trends. there's so many people out there that know more than I do, or thinking like, oh, well, I know it all. That's when I'm going to get behind. So I'm in a lot of different Facebook groups, and I've actually found a number of clients in these Facebook groups, and it's for my coaching, and that's where I was kind of like, gosh, I don't want to turn these people away, but it's because they're not in the home industry. And so that's where it's been beneficial to have the coaching option, because then I can still tell them how to do social media the right way. It's just pivoting a little bit on what to tell them, like for their content.
And out of all of them, homes are one of the hardest things to sell on social media right now because of the restrictions with ads. I'd
Mhm.
probably say loans are harder because it's just boring.
Yeah, well, loans, I can't imagine trying to do home loans,
No,
but
there's no emotional pull to it.
yeah. Well, and
And
because
it's such a
rates,
commodity based.
yeah, yep.
It's one that I'd be interested to talk to somebody about because I know it's not a strength of mine. And how do you make like the emotional pull and that call to conversation on interest rates? Yippee.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. You can only get so excited about interest rates for so long.
no, you can't. I've tried. You can't. Oh, it's cheaper. Yippee. Like you're going to pay it either way. Just, you mean I get to have an extra 8 square feet? So you mentioned all the platforms that you like using.
Mhm.
How, what's your favorite? Let me start with LinkedIn specifically, because LinkedIn, like you said, is a completely different animal. I've been talking to people about more approaching it as a referral network than a direct to consumer market.
Mhm.
How do you create those conversations that aren't selling, that aren't salesy, but can turn into sales, especially for real estate agents who are trying to sell a home right now and like right now?
I give them something for free.
Okay.
Um, and that's where and this is where, honestly, like, I struggle because I have different lead magnets built, with, different options. I have a free video training, I have a content calendar, and I have PDFs with best times to post first and days to post on social media
Okay.
as lead magnets. But the thing that gets the most conversation started, where I'm actually able to bring in my leads, is by giving them a free audit where I go through their social media for them, tell them what I see that's working and stuff that I think that they should change. And from there is typically, okay, let's go over the stuff I found. And it's a conversation, to say like, this is what I can do for you. I offer these done for you services, or I offer coaching. And there's sometimes where like, coaching is, it's obvious, it's less money coming into me, but it's a better fit for them. And I think that there's a lot of clients that appreciate it. They're like, yeah, actually, I would like to just know how to do it the right way.
Well, and that's something I wanted to ask about too, specifically with coaching for social media.
Hmm.
You're training them on a product that could change in 20 minutes if you don't pay attention in
Yeah,
some ways.
yeah,
It's, I can see that being a very tough sell to people when they know things like what happened again last August with Facebook and what's happening in the near future with Google, especially with zip code targeting and things like that. How do you sell coaching to people when it's not an immediately expiring asset? Like it's not like the ideas are going to disappear overnight, but the ideas you teach them may not last for the next 3, 4, 5 years.
well, and that's the thing too, is I give them the fundamentals of how the how to of formatting, when to post, how to find the right hashtags, how to engage, which types of pages they should be looking to engage with,
Mhm.
um, how to use location tagging, how to do stories, how to create graphics in Canva.
And stories are one of the best things in the world right now.
Mhm, yeah.
We actually interviewed a guy. His name was Scott Shapiro. He's Facebook's like direct, like real estate concierge, so
Mhm,
to speak. He said flat out, "There's a reason we put stories at the top of the page."
yeah.
And just when you hear that, like your eyes should light up and be like, "Yeah, I guess I have to do that now."
Well, and they think that they need to be on every single social media platform. Then if when you're on everything, then you're good at nothing.
Hmm.
And if you focus in, just on Facebook and Instagram, that in itself is essentially 4 different channels. So
Yes.
actually 5 now because of Reels, but I mean, so
Yeah.
you have Instagram Reels, which is
Mhm.
completely different. You have
Yeah.
Instagram Stories.
That's supposed to be
Instagram
the
Feed.
TikTok clone.
Yeah,
It's not quite there yet, but they're putting a ton of effort in. Like, you get so much engagement on Reels right now. Like,
yes.
you'd be nuts not to do it because they're just throwing it at you.
Yeah, and so, I mean, but with those 3 things right there on Instagram, that's like 3 different
Hmm.
types of posts you need to do on one social media platform.
Yeah.
And then on Facebook, you have the Facebook feed, your Facebook business page, and then you also have Facebook groups, which again, there's a reason that they spent like I I don't even know how much money on 2 Super Bowl ads last year,
Hmm.
or 3 Super Bowl ads on Facebook groups. I mean, that they put a lot of money behind the people being more engaged in Facebook groups. If they're putting all that money, putting ads out there, then it's like, okay, this is where I need to be spending my time. And that's again trying to figure out the right types of posts.
Hmm.
For again, I said I just named off 2 social channels, but
Yeah.
that's 5 different posts.
And,
Well,
and I knew LinkedIn was talking about creating a stories feature too.
it's out.
It's out. Okay. I didn't get to use it yet. LinkedIn isn't one that I focus on those two, LinkedIn and Facebook. Those are my two because I don't want to be in a million directions. And I love that you said that. Don't try to be the expert in all of them. Yeah, you post it like you can post it back to LinkedIn, but don't expect the engagement. It's just
Well, and
you know.
once you figure out your ideal client,
Hmm.
then you'll know which social media channels you should focus in on. If your ideal client is women ages 35 and up, and you have a visual brand, you should be spending time on Pinterest because
Yeah.
that you create those Pinterest boards. Um,
So, how have you been leveraging Pinterest? Because Pinterest, as far as I've known, doesn't have the same geo targeting that the other platforms do.
yeah, and
Um,
I'll be honest, it's one that I don't teach a lot on.
okay.
I mean, I know how to create the boards and I share them on Facebook and I know the importance of them, but it's definitely not one of my specialties. I when people come, I know YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn are definitely like the top 3: Facebook,
Okay.
LinkedIn, and Instagram. I did Twitter a lot at my previous job, but for my ideal clients, they're not really on Twitter.
I
So
see Twitter as more of a branding style of marketing as opposed to like, and if you're trying to do anything call to action wise, Twitter is not it.
no. Well, I mean, it's a great place to go and put out opinions and say, "This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm thinking right now." Um, but it's not going to be a great like. So I use Twitter on a personal level when I watch the Colorado Avalanche play,
Yeah.
and when I watch football on Sundays because I like to. I have 100 followers, and those 100 people might really think that I thought that that was a great pass by Aaron Rodgers. But I mean, that's what Twitter is for.
Yes.
So
Although I have to call you out because I'm out of Connecticut. So you stole our hockey team and you will never be forgiven for it.
I love the Avalanche. They're my favorite.
Yeah. So, but
But
yeah, it's so have you found a way to try to monetize Twitter, or are you really just doing it as brand recognition, emotional connection? Is that really what you would use it for?
yeah, it's just an emotional connection. And like I said, if I have I like I said, for my ideal client, they're not on Twitter. If I were to be at a networking event and talking with a 30 something year old male, uh, I would, that does have a lot of opinions. I would probably ask them like, "Hey, are you on Twitter? Because you have a lot of good things to say." That's your audience is on Twitter, but it's definitely not where my clients hang out. And um, again, if you're trying to be the master of all, then you're the master
Yeah.
of none. And so that's where, again, I spend a lot of time on Instagram engaging as my brand, and then on LinkedIn just making those uh, kind of cold
Yeah.
calls and from my kitchen. Yeah.
So you've got a ton of awesome information here, like in terms of just pure inside baseball kind of things that you people need to know as they're doing sales and trying to grow their own businesses. What were some of like besides being pregnant and launching a business within like six, what were some of your biggest obstacles as you were trying to grow this?
So this is the thing that I'm still trying to figure out is how I can turn those people because I 100% my leads are either all referral based, which is
Okay.
great. It's a compliment, or
Yes.
through LinkedIn.
The
Um,
problem with referral based though is it's tough to pick when it's going to happen. It's tough to feel consistent when it's referral based.
yeah, and I can't. Email is still king, and
Absolutely.
if
I,
social media is great, but it's a great starting point
mhm.
to either get those people onto your list or once they're on your list, retargeting them through that Facebook pixel and so
It's got to be the traffic you own. You don't own
yeah,
any land on Facebook or Instagram.
exactly.
That's something I was thinking of asking you too is how much are you directing people to post on their business pages when business page engagement is non-existent nowadays?
Yeah, and that's the thing too is you have to again providing value so that it's really sad. I'm going to share a very sad statistic with your listeners that your Facebook business page is only being shown to 1 to 3% of your followers.
That's almost high for me just based
It's
on what I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, like, and you can go to some of the bigger, like, so again, I have home builders. Like, I'll go to some of the bigger home builders that have like 2, 3, 4 million, and they have 23 likes on their posts.
Mhm.
So if I go back to some of my pages I manage, I'm like, oh, okay, so there's 10 likes on this. Like, in the
That's
this
huge.
is pretty darn good. And that's where
I
you have to make sure that you're still putting out stuff that people do find value in, and using those posts in Facebook ads and then pushing them out to your current audience and including the lookalike audiences and including the
Lookalike audiences, especially in real estate, are the biggest thing. And like, you can't not have lookalike audiences right now
yeah,
because otherwise, especially in a metropolis, it's impossible to afford it.
yes, yeah, and like I said, it's for the 1 to 3% of people that are going to see it organically. You're going to want to make sure that those people like it enough to hit like or comment on it or share it because that's when it's going to start picking up steam on in Facebook. And so that's don't I wouldn't say just write off Facebook altogether because I mean it's
Well, no matter what, you still need it in order to run ads. And if
yeah.
you're not running ads, like especially now with some of the results you're getting on Facebook ads,
Oh yeah.
I'm seeing people creating real estate leads for less than $1 a piece.
Well, and I know that there was an inventory home that I was promoting right during like in May
Mhm.
when we were full on COVID,
Yeah.
and our click through rate to the landing page to get in contact with the agent for the house was 0.001. So we were paying a 100th of a penny to get
Yeah.
people to just click on it and go to the page. So if you have the right type of content out there, it makes all the difference in the world. Because then it'll start gaining traction organically and Facebook will reward you for it.
So I've been starting to hear something, and it's been a big eye opener, especially in the real estate world. And I just want to make sure that you're not having what I've seen so many agents doing lately is that sold in 1 day, sold in 20 minutes, like sold. You're just creating the for sale, like you're working yourself out of a job by posting this stuff.
And that's the thing too is I want a lot of people that I want people to again, stuff might be selling in 1 day, but don't treat it like that.
No.
Still plan on doing your regular posts about the community, about the local coffee shop that's just 20 yards down from your front door
Mhm.
that, is within walking distance of, the public transit your selling points, still do that stuff because again, you're showing up and providing again value. Hopefully, then someone will pick up the phone and be like, "Oh, well, that house sold. I have another one 3 blocks away that I can show you."
Well, so what I've seen, and it's been working really well, and it's not necessarily a social media thing, but you can start like telling your clients to do this. When you put the house on the market, say no showings will take place until Sunday, November 5th, whatever that date is. Then you have a line around the block.
Yeah.
Now like when you sell it in one day, yeah, you may have gotten the best offer, but odds are you didn't. But to be able to walk out and do it, like just put your play on and do a live where you show the line around the block. Who doesn't want that when you have Star Wars lines for the house that you're selling?
Yeah.
That's such an easy thing to pick up new listings when, yeah, you've got 15 people waiting in line because with COVID, only one family can be in at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great idea.
And then to say, okay, well, there's no showings until Sunday, and we're not going to look at any offers until the following Tuesday.
Mhm.
That's how you get your client the right offer.
Mhm.
They don't care that it sells in one day. They care that they get the right offer.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's that when I heard that, I'm like, okay, why are so many of us idiots? So, but so this has been awesome because I've loved all this like detailed like social media because so many people are afraid of it and they don't need to be.
No, they don't need to be afraid. It's such and that's one of the things that it breaks my heart. Well, again, like on LinkedIn, I'll offer people that free audit or, just trying to get the conversation started. And they're, oh, well, I've done social media before. It doesn't work for my business. It doesn't work for my brand. It doesn't work from it. I've found no luck with it. And it's like, well, yeah, you didn't have luck with it because you weren't doing it the right way. You were
It's
being the annoying guy in the room. So
and it's the flywheel analogy from good to great. It's not about you put up one ad. It's about doing these little consistent things over and over until you get momentum.
yeah, yeah. And then hopefully you get to the spot where you have so much momentum that you need to hire an assistant or hire some help.
Well, would hire you to do it for them,
Yeah, yeah,
ideally.
that's even better,
That's
yeah.
the idea. But let's call it exactly what it is.
Yes, exactly.
So this has been absolutely awesome. I loved how inside baseball this conversation got to be.
Yeah, this is great.
There's been so much good information. When people want to reach out to you to get some marketing services, like whether it's real estate or anybody who's bamboozled by social media, where do they find you?
So I am online. You can find me at nextstepsocialcommunications.com. It's a mouthful.
Yeah.
Or you can find me on Instagram. I'm next.step.social. Find me on, I'm, like I said, I'm really active on LinkedIn. Just search for Katie Brinkley and you'll see my little profile picture pop up. And like I said, I give out a lot of free advice on all my social channels. Just if you're trying to figure out what to post, I have unique social media holidays. So if it aligns with your brand, you can do something unique with that, and always try and
But
have something of value.
yeah, like you talking about like the little like National Hot Dog Day kind of
Yes.
things.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love those.
Yeah.
In terms
And
of like a call to conversation, there's nothing better than that.
well, and that's the biggest thing is if you can get people to start engaging with your content, that's when you're going to see the results. So
That's something. If there's somebody I could point you to, his name is Dan Stewart with Happy Grasshopper.
okay.
He is phenomenal in terms of marketing, in terms of getting people, again, not a call to action, a call to conversation. He has a Facebook group called What to Say Now that I love. I think if you're looking into groups, especially for you, take a look into him. He helps specifically real estate agents, and I think you guys would align a lot in
Oh,
terms of
cool.
what
Yeah,
you
I'll
guys
have to
do.
check 'em out.
And he's email marketing
Oh, yeah. See,
and
and that's the
email
thing.
marketing. Oh, I only have a 15% open rate. You can't get that with a telephone anymore. That's, yeah.
Oh, well, and now the latest thing, yeah, transitioning from email into text. So there's always something new to try and learn and take advantage of. And if you can get into, again, social media is a great way to start the conversation and stay in front of people, but email is so important.
From a sales perspective, to think like if there was a bar in town that everybody went to for 45 minutes every single day, you would be at the end of that bar no matter what. Like you'd be there with a flu and a gunshot wound. Social media, everybody is on it an average of 45 minutes a day. You need to make sure you're learning this stuff. There's no
Yep.
way around it in sales anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. Social media, it's if you're not using it, then your competitor is. So
Yes. So again, this has been awesome. Everybody, make sure you take your time. Follow Katie at next period step period social, next step social communications. Find her however you need to legally. Let's add that caveat. You don't want people like poking through the bushes or anything, but she is absolutely, knowing what I know, there aren't many people who could have these kinds of conversations. And the fact that you could have it, I hope you've never suffered imposter syndrome or you never suffer it again because you don't deserve that.
well, thank you. Yes, and keep on showing up on video and trying to make sure I look authentic. It's a hard one, but you have to do it. You have to do it, and I know it. I trust me. I know how hard it is.
Yeah. So thank you so much. Once again, this has been the Broken Salespeople podcast. Please take your time, like, subscribe. If you'd like to get a hold of me, you could go to brokensalespeople.com/connect. Follow me on all the platforms there. I look forward to talking to you guys soon. And until then, go fix yourself.